This is Palo Verde River Cruise. Now, it's rather interesting. So, our driver Edwardo Camacho is a owner operator. It's his own van. I would say that probably the best part of this whole trip was actually hanging out with a local. It was just the three of us in the van, which was even better in a way because you get to talk with a local. He speaks English. You get to talk with a local. You actually find out what it's actually more like to live in the country instead of being in a van full of tourists and then you're just engaging in English with other tourists. So I thought that was the part of driving with a local for an hour and a half was pretty good. He picked us up at the hotel in Playa, Potrero. He bought some bananas for the monkeys. The fee includes the gas, transportation, lunch. He even takes you to a nice local place that he knows for lunch, which was actually quite good. This is the road leading to the park. Just to give you an idea of what the terrain, what the environment in this area is like. I mean, you can be in Costa Rica and you can stay in, if you can be sort of secluded a little bit if you stay in these resorts and not really see the countryside. So it's a bit of a treat to have a private driver, if you will, drive us so I didn't have to do the driving. So it gave me more of an opportunity to look around and watch. Now, I'm going to say also, because if you go through these owner-operators, even though it's advertised as $90, I guarantee you, you're going to be able to negotiate a better price if you work directly with this guide, the tour guide. Again, he's an owner-operator. I've included his business card, his information at the end of this video, mostly because I was real impressed with the guy. I would say that, and I've heard this about some other tours, that the people that run it are genuinely interested in having you have a good time. So really this Refugio Nacional de Vida Silvestre Ciapancia is really a bird watcher's destination. Now you got to hit it right because we are at the beginning of the migration season, and so there weren't as many birds to see. I was a little bit lukewarm on this whole experience with the river cruise. You saw alligators, you saw one monkey, there were a few birds. I would say that for me, again, as I mentioned earlier, that probably the better part of the whole experience was spending almost 3 hours round trip driving there and driving back with a local Costa Rican and asking him a lot of questions about what life is like, what the cost of living is like, insurance, buying and running a business. So that part was a little bit more valuable in a way. So here's the river. It is connected to the ocean, and it can rise up 5 or 6 feet when the tide comes in. I mean, a lot of alligators. There's a monkey that you're going to see here shortly, and they refer to him as the lifesaver. Apparently there's another troop that the entire troop will come on the boat and it'll beg for food from the people. And so that's why they bring these bananas. You're not supposed to feed them, but the locals are, the people that run these tours want people to have a good experience, have some fun, and so they sneak the bananas on there. They don't tell the park ranger, but anyway, that's hush hush. It does make it a little bit more interesting. So again, this is the river, kind of murky. I mean, the big deal here is during the migration season for the birds, you're going to see an awful lot of birds. This is the boat. I think it carries maybe a dozen or so, maybe 20 people. It just wasn't like full of wildlife everywhere, like you're going to go on an African safari and see wildlife. Again, I would say that if you are a bird aficionado, you're going to have to time the trip when the birds are actually here. To me, the guide did point out maybe a half a dozen birds, but I would say there just wasn't the variety during the time that we were here to really go crazy and say, wow, what a great experience. So again, if you are a bird watcher, time your trip, so that you're hitting it during the migration season when there's a lot of birds here. I mean, again, it's there's a lot of alligators, and you know, I live in Texas, so it's not like we haven't seen alligators. The idea with this video is to sort of give you a feel of what this is going to be like. I kind of was a little bit bored, I have to say. Do bring some binoculars. The guides are pretty good about pointing things out, pointing out the names of birds. He did say that if he was with a group and they were serious bird watchers, he would have been a lot more intimidated on pointing out this or pointing out that. So I think for the general public, he was just fine. And this is a nice little view of what the boat's like. They're small, shallow bottom. Apparently the water during the time that we were in there isn't all that deep. So this is the monkey they refer to as the lifesaver, and I think that means is they... I mean, it's supposed to be a wild monkey, but this doesn't look like a very wild monkey to me. It's almost like they rehabilitated him from the zoo or something, because he's pretty comfortable hanging out with people. Nonetheless, it was still probably the highlight for people to have the monkey come and crawl on him. It's very gentle, the monkey is. White-faced. Cara blancos. Cara blanca. So everybody gets a little monkey on their shoulder. There are apparently fairly large troops of this same species of monkeys. We saw a group of them and they were far more shy. Yeah, I tend not to like these tours where you're sort of captured and you're sort of well, you can't go where you want. You're stuck on the actual boat. But you know, sometimes you do these things just to have the experience and know that you've tried, and sometimes you just have to do different things just to increase your experience and awareness of the place that you're at. So the monkey is pretty gentle, I mean, with his dexterity with his fingers. So we've moved on, and I think this is what you're looking at here in the trees. It doesn't translate wonderfully, right? You can see some of these monkeys running around on the branches, but unless you're there and you can actually see it in person, watching a video of it doesn't give you much of an impact. I mean, there's a small troop of these monkeys. Cara blancas. These guys weren't inclined to come and jump on the boat. So what he does, for about an hour and a half, the cruise lasts, and he goes up and down the river. There's a few places that they know where you're going to see some alligators. They know where there's a troop of monkeys. Birds are kind of a hit and miss. It depends because they fly. They could be anywhere. He did explain that during the migration season, where they come from the north, this place is full of birds everywhere. So I would say that definitely is probably the time to come. These are mangroves. There are two rivers here. that come together. It's a protection of aquatic and terrestrial creatures. It's an important bird nesting site. Again, I'm going to say that my favorite part of the entire trip was having rented from Edwardo, and here he took us to a local park for no reason than to see these iguanas. And apparently, if you come at the right time, you'll have 20 or 30 of these iguanas coming after you. So he thought that the iguanas had already just been fed. But nonetheless, he didn't have to do it, and he did it. Nice long tail in this iguana. So I'm just including this card just for your information. Thank you very much for watching, and remember to